Hello my fellow viewers, I'm the viewer, and today we're going to be talking about two of my favorite Transformers, the bad boys of Velocitron, the terrible twosome, the masters of disaster. It's Ransak and Crumplezone from Transformers Cybertron. So, at first glance, Ransak and Crumplezone seem to be your typical big guy, small guy duo, with Crumplezone being the muscle and Ransak giving out the orders. The two are always seen together and they're practically inseparable. So, we're going to take a look at the events from the show, extra media and merchandise, some trivia along the way, and some other stuff that we find. So, without further ado, who are Ransak and Crumplezone?
Crumplezone! Transform! Ransak, transform!
So, Ransak and Crumplezone first appear in episode 4 of the show. As the two are driving through a tunnel, this is where they first meet Megatron, who without question fires missiles at the two. As the two try to escape, Megatron quickly blocks their path, leaving them no choice but to fight. As the two are down for the count, this is where Megatron recruits the two as new Decepticons and as his guides to Velocitron. Then, in episode 5, while Megatron plans his next move after losing to Override in a race, Ransak and Crumplezone point out that an old pile of wreckage, who's been around forever named Breakdown, might know something or have an idea about where the cyber planet key is. Later, Ransak and Crumplezone track down Breakdown and his friend Clocker, who tried to protect Breakdown, but Ransak quickly disposed of him.
Leave him alone! Slack off! No!
Then, when Ransak and Crumplezone are just about to blast Breakdown in the face, this is where they're attacked from the back suddenly by the Autobot Hotshot. In episode 6, Ransak and Crumplezone get back up and aim their attention at Hotshot, and they start chasing him. They catch up to Hotshot and ram him from both sides, causing Hotshot to spin out of control. And right when Ransak and Crumplezone are about to give Hotshot the finishing blow, Hotshot's partner Red Alert speeds in to rescue Hotshot, causing Ransak and Crumplezone to hit each other instead. Afterwards, Hotshot charges towards Ransak and Crumplezone, dodging their attacks until he drives in between the two. The two then get back up and make their escape after being humiliated twice. Later, Ransak and Crumplezone are seen with Megatron, who's about to have his rematch with Override. At the last second, Hotshot joins the race, but during the race, Ransak and Crumplezone notice that Megatron's not doing too good, so they plan to shift the odds in Megatron's favor,
What's that?
causing him to lose the race. Afterwards, Override charges at the two for interfering. Then, Ransak and Crumplezone make their escape with Megatron. In episode 7, this is where Megatron introduces the two to Starscream, who is curious in the two's combat ability. Later, the three track down Red Alert in a junkyard who seems to be blowing off some steam. Starscream gives the order to attack. They clobber Red Alert. As the two celebrate their victory, Red Alert jumps out of the wreckage and proceeds to hit them right back, blasting them away.
Extra crispy! Slimer Key power! Take this!
Episode 8. The two come to Megatron saying that they have news and are going to start a race.
So you think you can beat Override then?
Exactly! And we're entered in the race.
And so are we!
Of course, we don't exactly play fair, do we?
You're right!
These fools couldn't possibly win. But if they cause enough chaos in the race, it will be that much easier for me to take the key unchallenged. Okay, we've got a deal.
In episode 10, Ransak and Crumplezone are having a nice conversation with Dirt Boss, trying to convince him to join up with Megatron. But Dirt Boss isn't having any of it, so Ransak and Crumplezone decide to try a different way of communication.
This guy's a little thick-headed, isn't he? Must be the titanium skull plate. What do you think?
You do the thinking, Ransack. I just smash stuff.
Dirt Boss fires his Dirt Dog attack and lands a direct hit on Crumplezone, only to see that it barely phased him. Immediately, the two blast Dirt Boss to the ground. As Ransak has Dirt Boss pinned to the ground, Override shows up to see the situation and offers Dirt Boss some help, but he refuses and chooses to join the two. In episode 13, Ransak and Crumplezone trick both the Dirt Boss and Hotshot into racing each other for a chance to race Override. While Dirt Boss and Hotshot are busy racing each other, Ransak and Crumplezone aren't far behind until the two decide to ambush Hotshot from the mountain. Having enough of the chaos, Hotshot returns fire and a battle ensues. As they fight, Crumplezone fires a blast over Hotshot, causing him to be buried under a pile of rocks. Just when Ransak and Crumplezone were about to finish him off, they were taken by surprise by Optimus Prime. As soon as Optimus challenges them, they transform and escape. Later, Ransak and Crumplezone are seen spying on Optimus's encounter with Override. Then, they meet up with Dirt Boss again to have him join in another race, but Dirt Boss isn't having it this time. After a back and forth, Dirt Boss agrees to race again, but as long as they do not interfere. Later, Ransak and Crumplezone send Megatron a message that Optimus has arrived on Velocitron, and that he and the rest of the Autobots are going to be entering in the Grand Prix. Later, as soon as the Grand Prix begins, Ransak and Crumplezone stall at the starting line, planning their mischief.
Are we supposed to win or just mess stuff up?
Whatever comes first.
Episode 14, during the race, Ransak and Crumplezone are about to attack Optimus in the back until Red Alert and Landmine tell them to stand down. So they defuse the situation and let Red Alert and Landmine pass by, so they can shoot them in the back instead. As Ransak and Crumplezone make their way to the front of the pack, Crumplezone decides to start riding on Ransak's back. And I would like to add that for such a big guy, Crumplezone really knows how to handle a bike.
Riding to your mind. Deja vu, I just been in this place before. Higher on the street, and I know it's my time to go. Going new, and the search is a mystery. Standing on my feet, it's so hard when I try to be me. Whoa, deja vu, I just been in this time before. Higher on the beat, and I know it's a place to go. Going new, and the search is a mystery. Standing on my feet, it's so hard when I try to be me.
As Ransak and Crumplezone move up in the race, Ransak destroys the bridge behind them to stall the Autobots, forcing them and Dirt Boss to take a different path. Later, Ransak and Crumplezone are enjoying themselves with the open road and no one behind them, until suddenly Dirt Boss jumps from the cliff above and crushes the two flat.
Excuse me while I get the dirt out of my treads. Lousy cheaters.
No, I'm gonna feel that for days.
Big jerk thinking he can move.
That was Hotshot.
How did he jump that gap?
Oh, come on! No one behind us.
Open road ahead.
In episode 15, Ransak and Crumplezone are being booed by the crowd while waiting for the next race to start.
Just for that, no autographs!
During the race, the racers are driving through a narrow track, and Crumplezone is blocked by breakdown slow driving.
This ain't no Sunday drive. The closer you tailgate, the slower I go, buddy.
Hey, CZ, why don't you just pass him? Oh, wait, I forgot. You're a wide load!
While Ransak is leading the second pack of racers, further up front, Hotshot, Dirt Boss, and Override are about to pass the stairway, until Ransak makes the bold decision to launch himself over all the other racers and lands in first place.
Nanny, nanny, poo-poo, you can't catch me.
Wow, as we move on to the city sector, Ransak is in the lead.
With Ransak in the lead, the racers make their way to the city sector, and as Crumplezone is about to enter a building, Ransak stops him to show that he switched the signs, making all the other racers go the wrong way.
Ransak, why are you parked? You were leading the race.
Yeah, and I still am.
Huh? How did you figure that?
Because I sent them on a detour.
Oh, you are just rotten.
Why, thank you, Crumplezone. Come on, let's cruise to the finish line.
As the other racers catch on to Ransak's trick, they make their way back on course.
That's it. I'm going.
While driving through a tunnel, Crumplezone starts shooting at everyone in the front, causing major damage to the track and making Override crash.
But I'm not slowing down.
In episode 16, Ransak and Crumplezone are shown spying on Override while she trains.
Too bad that Override isn't doing anything worth spying on.
Oh, I bet she's got something planned.
Episode 17. In the third race, the remaining racers drive through the Diablo Desert.
If it gets any hotter, my tires are gonna melt.
Yeah, wish we had a cool wind right now.
Hey, the wind is picking up. It's more like a sandstorm.
This pit stop is the pits.
Wish we had a cool wind right now. Never wish for wind in the desert.
After some shenanigans, Ransak and Crumplezone see that Dirt Boss and Override are literally fighting for first place. And it's not looking good for Dirt Boss, so the two try helping him by shooting at Override, but they shoot Dirt Boss instead.
Dirt Boss is in trouble.
Now with Dirt Boss pissed off, he starts shooting at them until they knock him into a sand pit. With Dirt Boss stuck and asking for help, Ransak suggests that they leave him for dead.
Help me! I'm stuck!
Now he wants our help. Wasn't he just shooting at us?
Let's let him rust here.
Good idea.
Episode 18. After the last 3 races, only 4 racers remain. Override, Hot Shot, Ransak, and Crumplezone are all chosen to be in the last race. The racers are given a short moment to prepare for the last race. And here, we see Ransak and Crumplezone are working on a new super duper tune-up.
Yeah, of course. Trust me. You're going to be a sure winner after I give you this super duper tuna.
It's super duper? Well, why didn't you say so? Hit me again.
As the last race begins, Override and Hotshot take a huge lead, leaving Ransak and Crumplezone in the dust. So, they use one of their new upgrades.
Looks like it's time to use one of those little improvements we made.
Good idea. They may be faster, but we're smarter.
Amazing! Crumplezone and Ransak are avoiding the turn by just leaping over it! They've made up a lot of distance! We have a real race now!
Then, the 4 are approaching the loop. Here, Ransak and Crumplezone reveal another upgrade they installed. High-powered nitros injectors.
You chumps actually think you have a chance.
Yeah, but your puny engines can't keep up with the nitrous injectors we installed. Bye-bye.
But as the two are celebrating, they run out of nitros and crash to the bottom, losing their huge lead.
Hey, cut that out. Come on, Ransak. It tickles.
Well, too bad. I'm not letting go.
Clinging on to the ledge, Ransak and Crumplezone just decide to steal the Planet Cup instead. They make their way to the Planet Cup and start blasting the force field, until Override and Hotshot scare them off. Later, with Hotshot winning the race, the force field is lifted, and Megatron and the Decepticons make their move and steal the Planet Cup.
Winning the race lowered the protective force field, so I can take this.
Yes, again!
Optimus Prime.
They fight the Autobots, and Ransak and Crumplezone fight off Jetfire and Landmine in a firefight. But with Megatron defeated, the Decepticons make their escape. Episode 19. As Optimus Prime, Vector Prime, and Leo Breaker arrive at Jungle Planet, they are immediately ambushed by Ransak and Crumplezone. During the battle, Crumplezone goes bumper to bumper with Optimus Prime, and Ransak is testing Leo Breaker for nanomachines. Then, Optimus and Leo Breaker fuse into Savage Claw mode to engage them. With Ransak taking the first beating, Optimus offers Crumplezone the chance to run away.
You can always run away. I think I can. Uh-oh, it's right.
You didn't watch the clock!
In episode 20, Ransak and Crumplezone are hanging out with Brimstone and Undermine, watching the meeting between Optimus and Scourge.
If I recall correctly, Megatron, it was you who turned tail last time we met.
Hey, you can't talk about the boss like that. Somebody ought to learn that big chump some manners.
Yeah, the big muscle-bound jerk.
What was that?
Nothing, sir.
Until Leo Breaker decides to fight Scourge on his own. Later, when Backstop brings Scourge a message, the two mock about what happened to Optimus and Leo Breaker earlier.
At a time and place of your convenience.
Why didn't he just fight this morning? I thought that was pretty convenient.
Maybe this time he'll argue with his left arm.
In episode 21, as the Autobots head to Scourge's temple, they're ambushed by the Decepticons. As the Autobots struggle in Starscream's trap, Override tricks Ransak and Crumplezone into starting a race by trashing their racing abilities.
You know, I was just thinking, it's pretty impressive how quickly you moved up the ranks in the Decepticons.
Well, we're a couple of impressive guys.
Yep, we're on our way to great things, that's for sure.
What's even more impressive is that you were able to get on Megatron's good side, even though you're two of the worst racers I've ever seen.
That's not very nice.
I'm just saying, good job, because you never would have had this kind of success at racing.
Ah, she didn't just say what I think she said, did she?
She said it all right. I just heard her say it. That is it. We're racing right now.
This gets the attention of Starscream and Thundercracker, and at that very moment, the Autobots break free and drive the Decepticons away.
In your face, Override. Override?
Hey, where is she? This is another fine mess you've gotten us into.
In episode 22, as the Autobots split into groups to hide the Cyberplanet key, Ransak attacks Override and Hotshot from behind, and just when the two are about to return fire, Crumplezone rams into them, knocking them off their feet. Ransak and Crumplezone steal the box and make their escape, with Override and Hotshot on their tail. But as soon as Ransak opens the box, he gets punched by a spring fist, showing that they stole a decoy.
Ransak?
In episode 23, the Decepticons head to a strange marked location on the map Starscream found. Later, as the Decepticons arrive to the marked location, the map starts acting strange, and as Crumplezone tries to get a closer look, he bumps into Ransak.
Huh? What's going on?
I want to look too.
Hey, you're stepping on my tire!
A huge flash of light appears and covers the Decepticons in a gray ball, trapping them inside and leaving Crumplezone alone outside.
Don't leave me out here all alone. Let me in, guys.
We're trying to get out, you sack of bones!
Hey, let us out! Why won't this stupid thing open?
In episode 26, riding on a meteor, Crumplezone somehow managed to convince Scourge to assist in freeing the rest of the Decepticons.
Yeah, that's something that always bugged me. How could Crumplezone, out of all characters, be the one to not just bring but convince Scourge to come help out Megatron when he's trapped? I mean, towards the end, when Scourge gave the Autobots the Cyber Key, Megatron was clear that he wanted nothing else to do with Scourge, and same thing, Scourge wanted nothing else to do with the conflict, so there goes that bridge. Seriously, what did Crumplezone do to impress him, or to prove himself? I don't know, maybe Crumplezone did a freaking tournament arc off screen on Jungle Planet, I don't know, it was 2 episodes that they were stuck in that thing off screen, I don't know, anything could have happened.
After some time punching the barrier, Megatron and Scourge finally manage to break the seal and they head to Earth. When the Decepticons land on Earth, that very moment the Autobots block their path. After a back and forth between Optimus and Megatron, they throw down, then followed by everyone else joining the fight. Here, Ransak and Crumplezone are on Override's tail. Crumplezone hits Override on the side, which causes her to push into Ransack, causing him to fall into the water. Then, Crumplezone gets bombarded by missiles from Crosswise.
Here's how we do things on Earth, laughing boy!
In episode 27, Ransack and Crumplezone are busy fighting off Snarl and Jetfire. With Megatron done wasting time, the Decepticons head for the island where Starscream is located. As Ransack and Crumplezone jump through the portal, they crash onto Optimus and roll down the mountain. With the Autobots and the Decepticons still fighting, Ransack fights off Crosswise, while Crumplezone gets tag-teamed by Override, Leobreaker, and Snarl riding Lugnuts.
Can't wait! Now that's just humiliating!
Episode 29. Ransack with Landmine on his tail and Crosswise at his front, Ransack leaps into the air at the last moment, making the two slam into each other. As Ransack mocks the two, he comes across Lugnuts, who decided to take a break from all the fighting.
Hey, you're one of Starscream's guys. Shouldn't you be kicking some tail?
The scene just got too heavy, man. You dig?
Yeah, I'm hip, brother. Way too heavy.
In episode 30, the Decepticons chase after the Autobots who are heading back to Cybertron with the Omega Lock. As Megatron chases the Autobots through the space distortion, Ransack and Crumplezone argue with Mudflap, not wanting to end up like Thundercracker.
Thundercracker!
What a loser.
Huh? Loser? Let's see you try it!
Like that's gonna happen.
But I think it'll be safer if we just wait right here.
What about Megatron?
Oh no, don't pin that on us. Me and the Seaman got our own credo. Sworn to fun and loyal to none.
You guys are loopy tunes. I'm going back to Earth.
Episode 32. After the defeat of Megatron and the reawakening of Primus, Scourge declares himself as the new leader of the Decepticons. Hearing this, Ransack, Crumplezone, and Thundercracker all protest and start fighting each other.
Alright, the only way we're gonna settle this is the old-fashioned way. Fighting! Battle Royale!
Then, Ransack convinces Crumplezone and Thundercracker that the three should team up against Scourge.
And it drew straws.
I'm next up!
Later, as the Autobots are fighting Starscream, Scourge throws Ransack, Crumplezone, and Thundercracker into battle. As the battle continues, Ransack and Crumplezone are sneaking behind the Autobots until they're ambushed by a swarm of scrap metals. Ransack is able to get away in time, but Crumplezone gets dogpiled. Ransack tells Crumplezone to just get out of there, but as hard as Crumplezone fought, he was overwhelmed and freaking dies!
There's so many of them!
It hurts!
Episode 33. After exploding, Ransack manages to drag Crumplezone's wreckage away and desperately tries to wake him up, until Ransack sees Megatron coming their way. As Ransack calls out for Megatron's help, Megatron absorbs the scrap metal and he realizes that something is very wrong. As Megatron lays a hand on Crumplezone, it covers him in a pitch black mist, and as the mist fades away, it reveals Crumplezone, now in a new sinister body of black and red with a sharper frame. Crumplezone has been reformatted in Megatron's image and is more powerful than ever.
Or you might call it a new me. This is unbelievable! I don't think I've ever felt this good before, or this powerful! Come on, let's do some damage.
As Ransack and Crumplezone celebrate, they go after Override and Hotshot.
Override! Come out and play!
Woohoo! Let's do it!
Oh, I got a little surprise for you, Autobots. Dark Bazooka!
What was that? Woohoo! You finished them both with one shot, big guy!
Finished? What do you mean finished? I'm just getting started.
But you already knocked the sprockets out of them.
Yeah, and now it's time to have some real fun, little buddy.
Crumplezone puts a nasty beat down on Override until Hotshot is fed up and unleashes a barrage of missiles at them.
King Crumplezone the First! Ooh, I like the sound of that!
Oh man, that is enough! I've had just about all I can take from those two sprocket heads! Eat this, you clowns! Bullseye!
Hey, King?
Yeah?
I think you just got crowned.
Episode 35. Ransak and Crumplezone get caught in between Starscream and the Autobots. Later, when the Autobots make a portal heading to the starship Atlantis, Ransak and Crumplezone run through the portal at the last second and send Megatron a message on their location. The moment Megatron arrives, it's too late. The starship has warped away, and Ransak and Crumplezone are hiding in the corner of the ship. Episode 37. Ransak and Crumplezone are just chilling in one of the ship's halls while the Autobots and Decepticons fight over the ship. When Ransak and Crumplezone regroup with the other Decepticons, the ship warps away. That moment, Soundwave appears and leads the Decepticons to the giant planet Gigantian.
My name is Soundwave, and I know my way to Gigantian.
Episode 39. In the first battle on Gigantian, the Decepticons are shocked when Metroplex pins Megatron to the ground.
Megatron! No, say it ain't so, boss!
This can't be! Come on, we'll avenge him!
As they attempt to save Megatron, everyone gets blown away by Metroplex. With Megatron defeated, the Decepticons retreat into the lower levels of Gigantian. Episode 40. Megatron, furious over his loss to Metroplex, Ransak and Crumplezone try to comfort him, but to no avail.
He's out them!
That is his aura of fury.
Fury? Is he mad at us? What did we do?
If he were mad at us, we wouldn't be standing around like this.
He's tripping because he got served.
Then, the Decepticons tremble in fear as Megatron becomes Galvatron. Episode 41. As Ransak and Crumplezone polish Galvatron clean, they are the first to go look for the last cyber key.
Find the key.
Right! Find the key!
Consider it found!
Let's go!
Find the key!
We're key finders.
Later, as the Autobots head deeper into Gigantian, the Minicon Jolt is about to check the map until suddenly he's kidnapped by Ransak and Crumplezone.
It's the terrible twosome!
The Masters of Disaster!
Barons of Bad!
Dukes of Doom!
The villains from Velocitron!
We're not done. My name's Crumplezone and this is my partner,
Ransak!
Metroplex lunges at them, but they jump away and start throwing Jolt around as they taunt the Autobots to attack.
Stop squirming!
We'd better put a stop to this.
Right.
So start shooting, tough guys!
They know we can't fire back or we risk hitting Joel.
The Autobots send a distress signal and Kobe heads to the scene. When Kobe arrives, he throws a black ball at their feet, and at first, nothing happens. But then the two find out they're stuck, and that the black ball was full of Quick Mix's instant cement. After the Autobots save Jolt, with the help of Metroplex, Optimus gives Ransak and Crumplezone a grand slam.
Now I hope you two don't think this is a tad excessive.
No, sir.
That's good. After all, I'm trying to be fair. Now this is gonna hurt me a lot more than it hurts you.
Why else, Ransak?
It's the wheel of fate, my friend.
It ran right over us!
Episode 42. As the Autobots continue to head deeper into Gigantian, they leave behind a flattened Ransak and Crumplezone, and the two ponder if they're always gonna be losers.
Don't make me laugh, it hurts!
We can't be losers forever, can we?
Doesn't seem fair.
We need a new game plan.
Yeah, we'll get back at Prime!
When he sees our real strength and feels our vengeance, he'll regret beating us over and over and over.
Yeah, we'll get the last laugh! Good time.
After getting another pounding from the Autobots, Ransak and Crumplezone start to question their own abilities, and they bring up a very good point.
What happened to us? We were the toughest guys in Velocitron, and now we're just hiding.
But we're just two guys, you know what I mean? We can't take on all the Autobots by ourselves, right?
We could if we were stronger.
Well, once we get our hands on that cyber planet thingy, we'll be strong enough to do whatever we want. Am I right? Or am I right? I'll rebuild myself with a ginormous cannon and the most souped-up engine you've ever seen! Then just bring on those Autobots, because nothing will stand in our way.
During the exchange, the floor beneath them breaks and they land right in front of the Autobots again. Then, Optimus blasts them away again.
You know, sometimes being us is no fun at all!
Later, as the Autobots cover more ground, Ransak and Crumplezone drop in again.
We gotta stop doing that.
I'll say.
You guys come back more often than a boomerang.
Then Wingsaber shows up for another beatdown.
Guess what, guys? It's gonna be a quick one. Maybe we should learn our lesson!
Episode 46. Ransak and Crumplezone argue with Thunderblast about whose side she's on during Starscream and Galvatron's fight. And for some reason, Ransak has a different voice.
Ransak, I don't think the boss is doing so good.
How dare you doubt our leader, Crumplezone? My faith in Galvatron is absolute.
What are you talking about? First you're with Starscream, then you're with Megatron, then...
Yeah, you change sides more often and I change my own.
Yes, but until I change sides, I have unquestioning loyalty.
I'm sure you give villainy a bad name.
After Galvatron defeats Starscream and takes the Omega Lock, he and the Decepticons head for the black hole. Episode 48. Galvatron battles Optimus while the rest of the Decepticons fight off the Cybertron defense team. But after an intense battle, everyone from all over the galaxy arrives to help battle the Decepticons. And here is where the battle truly begins. Episode 49. As the new army of the Autobots causes Ransak, Crumplezone, Thundercracker, and Thunderblast to tremble in fear, Galvatron uses the Omega Lock to supersize the four Decepticons, and they battle the Autobots.
Try to deny it, but might makes right. Let me demonstrate.
Stronger!
What? We've been supersized!
See how quickly things change when power shifts? I'd say I have a big advantage now.
During the battle, Crumplezone gets ganged up on by Oberide, Breakdown, and Dirt Boss.
Being so big as you've lost all maneuverability.
Who's tailgate me with a gun?
Why don't you take a look in your giant rearview mirror? Whoops, too close! A monster truck isn't a better truck!
Ransak, even with his new size and power, is still no bigger than the Transformers from Gigantian.
Let's see if you dig this!
Wonderful! Why did the Gigantian guys decide to come after me? I bet Crumplezone's having all sorts of fun. Oh.
Let me alone, go away!
Slash!
Later, when Optimus and the other leaders defeat Galvatron, they restore the spark of Primus, and the black hole is sealed. Episode 50. With the jungle planet out of its orbit, the Autobots try to manually reposition the rockets damaged by Galvatron. until the 4 Decepticons sew up once again to cause trouble.
Sorry, Sugar, no can do. You see, staying away from them would ruin our entire plan.
This is just too good an opportunity.
Yeah, sorry.
Autobots and their troubles.
Just as they charge at the Autobots, they reveal that they actually came to help.
We're sick of losing. Yeah, and tired of being disrespected by the big boss. Plus the long hours. Evil stuff than it looks, I tell you.
Episode 51. With the galaxy at peace, Ransak, Crumplezone, Thunderblast, and Thundercracker, unwillingly, fly off to form the new Decepticons.
The walls, 100 buckets of gears. Take one down.
You sing like a scrap metal with a sore throat.
Hey, you guys, what's up? You're looking at the new Decepticons. Decepticons?
Yeah, we've had enough of all this peace and love junk.
But guys!
There's gotta be a guy even stronger than Galvatron out there, and when I find him, he will be mine.
But they're being nice! Oh no, get off of me! I want to be good! I want to win! Oh, why'd you do that?
It was a fashion statement.
You're back to the bad! Great! Back to always losing!
The new Decepticons!
Okay, that was quite a bit to go over. So, who are Ransak and Crumplezone? Well, they're not exactly proper Decepticons. Yes, they do work for Megatron, but out of fear rather than respect.
The two of you work for me.
Work?
You'll be my guides to this speed planet unless you'd rather be destroyed.
I don't want to work.
It's an offer we can't refuse, Crumplezone.
But this guy is mean. He kind of scares the oil out of me.
Go with the flow.
Do you have a problem with my offer?
No,
No, sir.
Not to say they're cowards either. To go in depth, let's start with Ransak, the smallest of the Transformers, excluding miniguns. Ransak, loud, arrogant, full of pride, and has an ego the size of Gigantin, does have a soft spot for his buddy Crumplezone.
Ransak was the first to fight Megatron when they first met, and the first to challenge Savage Claw mode as well. In this case, it seems like Ransak knows his own strength, or lack thereof, because there's no question that Crumplezone is much stronger than Ransak. If Crumplezone can't win a fight, there's no chance Ransak can, and he knows this. So the best thing Ransak can do is to be a crash test dummy for Crumplezone. And really think about this. It's the best thing Ransak can do in his position. So when there's a new threat, Ransak will jump in first and most likely get wrecked in the process, while Crumplezone, being more capable, now has a better idea what they're up against. Granted, Crumplezone might get walled to two, but it's the thought that counts.
Uh-oh, it's right.
You didn't watch the claw.
Heck, to further prove how devoted Ransak is to his friendship with Crumplezone, when they were attacked by a swarm of scrap metals, Ransak knew fighting wasn't an option, and urged Crumplezone not to fight. But after exploding, Ransak, by himself, on the battlefield, drags Crumplezone's body to a safe location, and desperately tries to wake him up. And remember, Ransak can carry Crumplezone's weight. Even though he was scared at first, Ransak became overjoyed when Crumplezone came back. Now to move over to Crumplezone for a bit. He's not the sharpest tool in the set, but he's not the dullest either. For example, he was the one who made the super duper upgrades and installed the springs and nitro boosters during the race.
Bye-bye.
Crumplezone also appears less confident at first, but can muster up the courage when he needs to, like when he tanked Dirt Boss's attack to protect Ransak, and when he challenged Savage Claw mode.
I think I can. Uh-oh, it's right.
Then, when Starscream got huge, now at Ransak's side, without hesitation, attack. Later, Crumplezone really gets an ego boost when Megatron brings him back to life, and with his new take charge attitude, it even scares Ransak for a bit.
Woohoo! You finished them both with one shot, big guy!
Finished? What do you mean finished? I'm just getting started.
But you already knocked the sprockets out of them.
Yeah, and now it's time to have some real fun, little buddy.
Now this really bothers me more than it should, but in episode 26, to help free the Decepticons, Crumplezone managed to convince Scourge to come help. But earlier, Megatron stated that he was done with Scourge when he gave the Autobots the Cyber Planet key of the Jungle Planet.
I still can't believe Scourge sold out to the Autobots.
He has decided to act like Optimus Prime.
What you mean, big guy?
He considers himself a leader who protects his subordinates at potential cost to his own welfare. Such noble sentiments are only held by the weak and foolish. It makes me sick.
So, Megatron wouldn't have sent him a message. And Scourge clearly stated that he didn't want any involvement with either side.
Aren't you gonna get off your butts and help us?
I never said I would help you. Besides, we don't want to be involved in your war. I've given you the Cyber Planet key, so why don't you leave me in peace?
Go on, go on!
So Scourge wouldn't give a damn about Megatron's problems. So like I said earlier, how did Crumplezone convince Scourge to come? Plus, Crumplezone and Scourge were riding an asteroid, so Crumplezone can't, or is even allowed to use Megatron's warp gates, because they would have used it! And if that's the case, did Crumplezone just float to the Jungle Planet? Or maybe Megatron granted Crumplezone a one-way trip? Anyway, let's move on to other stuff. In Transformers Galaxy Force, the Japanese version of Transformer Cybertron, Ransak is named Gasket, and Crumplezone is named Alarm Bullet. And there's a cut scene from episode 5 where the two are speeding down the highway and having discussion about rain before they meet Megatron. Fun fact, both English and Japanese versions have one or the other's name being car-related. For example, Ransak's Japanese name, Gasket, refers to the small, thin seals used to keep fluids and gases from leaking. And it's the reverse for Crumplezone/Land Bullet. The crumple zone of a car is the front part that was made to crumple up during a crash to reduce damage to the passengers. Ransak and Crumplezone also appear in the Transformers animated comic Moving Violation, where the two are being chased by Transformer law enforcement. It's only one page, but it's still cool to see. Ransak also appears in the IDW comics. Here, he's Override's main rival for the leadership of Velocitron, instead of being a street thug. Okay, let's talk about the toys. Ransak is a Scout class figure, and he turns into a Velocitronian motorcycle with transparent wheels. And using his cyber key, will flip out his gun to form thrusters. This becomes a handheld blaster in robot mode. Something interesting about Ransak's three colors is that two of them are just Ransak with different occupations. Red is the original, black is GTS Ransak, just Ransak becoming a spy. White is Police Ransak. So at some point, Ransak was a cop. Yeah, really. In Japan, that version of Ransak was exclusive to Toys R Us, and was only handed out when you bought 4,000 yen, or $35 worth of Transformers merchandise. In Transtech, Cybertron's Most Wanted, Ransak was a part of the Off-Worlder Zone Security Administration and aided his fellow police officers in arresting Megatron. Ransak also had an orange recolor, but this is supposed to be a Rat Trap, a completely different character. Ransak also had an Tactics figure. A Tactics is some kind of board game. I never played it, so I can't really comment on it. Now, Crumplezone is a bit more interesting, because Dark Crumplezone does have some differences between the original. For example, Dark Crumplezone has a much sharper design and sports a new cockpit. Crumplezone transforms into a three-wheeled Velocitronian rocket car with huge turbine thrusters. These thrusters each contain a spring-loaded missile launcher and can be swung forward in both vehicle mode and robot mode with his cyber key. This mold was also used for 2006 BotCon's Optimus Primal with a new head mold. Dark Crumplezone is a retooled version of his original toy, with roughly 80% of his parts changed. Crumplezone still turns into a Velocitronian three-wielder, but this time his design is much more angular, with a stealth fighter look to him. Other changes include a pair of removable black fins and molded guns on his vehicle's front. Crumplezone also has an Tactics figure, which when paired with Ransak, the two can stay in the game longer. Other than that, there aren't any other recolors of Crumplezone, at least none I can find. The Transformer Cybertron video game. Yep, that's right, there was a Transformer Cybertron game. A crappy side-scroller. Look, beggars can't be choosers, okay? Transformer Cybertron Rollout. Here, Ransak and Crumplezone, along with Dirt Boss, were enemies you fought while playing as Optimus Prime. But they're the only 3 enemies in the game, so they just keep showing up. The information for this game is lost to time, unfortunately. But from what I can remember in the 1st grade, is that this game was on the Kids WB website, and then was moved to the Cartoon Network website after the airing of episode 26 of the show. And oh boy, things go south for Cybertron. But that's a story for another day. In conclusion, Ransak and Crumplezone are the persistent, dynamic duo of Velocitron. But besides from a few cameos here and there, they've been relegated as bots from the past, unfortunately. But hopefully, in the future, they make a comeback in ways we've never seen before. But as long as the public continues to believe that Gen 1 doesn't have enough representation, only time will tell. I am the viewer, and thank you for watching. Until next time.